It's time to figure out where we're gonna put the amplifiers. It's not like we don't know, it's more or less just kind of talking about it. And they're gonna go back here, behind the seat, in this area, all through here. Fernando already has the power wire run back. So this is the spot that we need to build an amp rack for to mount both of our amplifiers. In the amplified system, it kind of goes in this area. So there's like an amp rack that mounts to here. There's 2 screws that go in. Your factory subwoofer goes over there. In some of the brand new systems, the amplifier rack is there, but the amplifier is hidden where that square is right there. It's kind of weird, and you can't see it anymore. I guess the new thing is to hide amplifiers that get hot behind carpet that makes it even hotter. But in this case, we don't have that problem. Now we do have an amplifier rack that we've made, and we just modify it depending on what size amplifiers we're using. And it's this guy right here. In this case, we really don't need, we need like this section right here. I don't need this mount, I need that mount. I need maybe an inch off of this. I need a notch here at the bottom for the wire to come in. And then probably right about here. So just this strip right here is all I need. And we're gonna make it out of 1/4 inch ABS. We have Mobile Solutions template tape that will stick to it, and then we'll use our flush trim bit right there. And it should look something like this right here. There's the notch I was talking about. That means I can take this over to the bench and we can talk about some amplifiers that are gonna go in this. To power the mids and highs in this truck, we're gonna be using the Kicker Key 200.4 4-channel amplifier with DSP. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this amplifier, it's the DSP part that is the most intriguing. Let's open it up and I'll explain. First thing, anytime you open a Kicker product that says stop, call tech support if you're having a problem. That's what they're there for. Remove the top layer of foam and you're gonna have this, which is the quick start guide. Put this someplace handy. This QR code here, if you scan it, will take you off to the website where you can get the full owner's manual instead of a quick start guide. So if you're running into problems that this is not answering your questions on, which it does have a pretty in-depth step-by-step on the back side of it. In the box, the ever so cute and small amplifier. This is one of our favorite amplifiers because it does such a great job at what it does. It's small, it's compact, and it allows you to get into a DSP system without paying the DSP price. And the reason for that is what's located next to it, which is this, the microphone. This is built around a similar idea to where if you have like a sound bar or something at home where you had to put a microphone in the middle of the room and you let it set itself, basically does the same thing with this microphone, which you'll see at the end when we set it up and we'll go through the whole setup process. This allows us to install this in your car quickly and efficiently and then not have to spend hours on the laptop adjusting things and moving things around and doing that. It's good and it's bad. It has limited functionality as far as we can't change anything, but very high success rate, so most of the time we don't have to. There are some hacks and some tricks that we'll show you in the end just in case you run into a little hiccup. Also in the box is the headband. This is used for mounting the microphone. There is a fuse holder. This requires a 12 gauge power wire, a couple zip ties, and then 2 harnesses. You have your input and then your output. I'm gonna put everything we don't need back in the box right now so that we have them for later. The second amplifier going in this car is the sub amp. This is also a Kicker, and this is the Key 500.1. There again, giving us that DSP technology, but at a great price, and of course some caveat. Stop, instructions, quick start guide, scan to get your full manual if you need it. A little less inside of this because this has an actual input. This is 500 watts of power. It is a little bit bigger than the 200.4, and it just has a parts bag with your input cables, some of those zip ties, and a couple screws with an Allen. Now what makes this one different is, unlike the 200.4 that came with a microphone, that one does acoustical EQing, meaning it uses that microphone to listen to the car and then do some equalization to make it sound more like the curve that is built into the amplifier. This one, on the other hand, does an electrical RTA reading to fix any anomalies in the factory system. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of these new cars, the factory radio has a high pass filter in them to limit how low those factory speakers are going to play. When you put a subwoofer in there, that's one of the reasons why you got to go with a bigger subwoofer amp, is because the signals aren't there. This is capable, with its EQ that's internally built into this, to flatten out that signal and bring back that bass that, well, technically isn't there. That allows us to use this 500 watts more efficiently and we can go with a smaller amplifier because we're EQing back in what is missing. When we're done, there's a setup process for this, just like the 200.4, and we'll walk you through those. But right now, what we need to do is get both of these mounted to this amp rack and figure out how we're gonna do that, along with this T-Spec VP-NB2 power distribution block. Because we're running a 4-gauge power and ground, we need something that can handle that, and this will do it fantastically. Ground wire goes in through here, power wire goes into either the top or bottom, 2 fuses go across here, and then our powers and grounds come out through this end. And this will mount somewhere in this area here. We're only going to be running front, left, and right back to this system, and that front, left, and right is going to power both of these amplifiers. One thing that we are going to do is use this amplifier though to turn this amplifier on. That way we don't get any pops or anything like that. And the reason why we can do that is on the end of the key 501, they have this switch right here that says DC offset on and off. If we press it in, this will shut off the DC offset, meaning your high level input on this will no longer be looking for the 6-volt carrier wave that comes in to turn this on. Now it's going to be looking for 12 volts to be coming in through this remote. On the key 200.4, there's also a bunch of switches on the end of the amplifier. These are what are going to tell it what we want it to do. The first one is 12 volt in or DC. Factory default is 12 volt in. Flip it down for DC. Next is fader. We're not going to be using the fader, we're just using front in. So if we turn that to off, then it knows just to look for signal coming in over the front 2 speaker wires, which are white and gray. After that is compressor. Default is off. That's one of those features you got to kind of turn on and off and see which one works best for you. Then we have biamp mode. The biamp mode is going to tell it that channel 1 and 2 is going to be some form of a high frequency, whether that be a tweeter or a middler or a 3.5, and that channels 3 and 4 are just going to be a mid bass. This is what tells it what crossovers to set for the corresponding speakers. Now it is going to use the microphone to listen to see which speaker it's using. Turn that on. After that, we have kicker EQ and time delay. Those are both set to on. And then the last 2 dip switches are for the high pass filter that is going to be on channels 3 and 4 when in biamp mode, or on all channels when not in biamp mode. You have a choice of 60, 80, 120, or off. 80 is our preferred, so that means we turn both switches to the down position. Depending on what form of factory radio you have, the radio detect adds some resistance to it. In the case of this, it doesn't add enough, so we're not going to be using that switch. We'll be putting in our own load resistor back behind the radio. And then gains, we set those last, so just leave those off. Those will be set after we run the EQ. And then these 2 lights right here are the peak light indicators for those gains, so it makes it very easy to set those up. Now as far as controls go on the 501, you have high level, low level. This will be set for high level. The gain should stay down, bass boost should stay down. The crossover and the high pass for subsonic all stay the way they are now. These are all going to get set up after we run the de-equalization on this and the equalization on that. With the preliminary settings done on these, now it's trying to figure out where we should put these. I like to put them like this because it makes it super easy for me to get to all those controls. They're not down here. And of course the power wire just comes directly in here. It's a nice short run. And if we ever need to add anything else, we do have some room right here. I need to slide these things around and kind of make sure this is what I want to go with, and then we'll screw them into place. So after thinking about it for a couple minutes, I ended up just wiring the whole amplifier up. It just kind of happened. One thing led to another. Grabbed our wire ruler, started drilling holes and putting some zip ties on it and covering things up. There's not a lot to these, which makes installing them fantastic. And what I mean by that is, you know, these plugs make installation really nice and simple. I depinned the purple and green from here and put them back in the box because I don't like having the excess stuff. They can easily plug back in. That's why we put them back in the box. Just brings the signal wire and the bass knob wire along this side here out of the way, and everything just kind of crosses over here and goes in. The tweeter and the door speakers are all here, and everything has a plug to plug into that harness that we used earlier. So these are your ins and outs that will go into that, and then this one is our tweeter end. We'll solder that end onto our tweeter wires that we run into the center of the dash, and that'll just all clip in. There's no soldering going on. Everything just plugs in behind the radio. The bass knob wires also ran in with this. And our sub wire, we make our own speaker cup, and so this will just plug in at the sub. Makes taking it in and out super easy, and you don't have to worry about having exposed wires. 2 fuses mounted here in the bottom. And yeah, that's one of the nice things about the keys is they go in, plugs all the way around, except for here I got 2 little short power and ground. And now we can hook up our 4 gauge into this. We got to drill a hole. We got to drill a hole and put in a nut cert to hold the top here. Let's hop into the car and I'll show you what I mean.